came so far from dreams. The path was hard for me. They thought we fall, you see. Well, look at us now, look at us now. We make it hot when we on the scene, yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team, yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around, you know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we. Tell me who better than we. We soaring to places you never could reach. When we walk in that spot, don't hear none of you speak. Shh, do you want peace or the peace? A king about to put you to sleep. Listen, my team is elite. You not even qualified to compete. He starving, he barely can eat. I guess that's why he always itching for beef. So I put him on ice and I told him to chill. Close your mouth if you can't pay for the meal. Making statements that you know you don't mean. Nice guy trying to act like he mean. Keep it a buck, keep it a bean. Attitudes will put you dudes in the beam. Isekai, he don't live in reality. Shake back off, become a fatality. Yeah, how you gon' hate when you mirror us? He think he a star, he ain't serious. X him out, we not on the same frequency. If you broke, you ain't hearing us. Work the screw, anime, that's how I feel, period. We winning, that's making them furious. We make it high when we on the scene, yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team, yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around, you know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we.
Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, and I'm back with you on another new part of What If Will Had Ouroboros Powers. This is part 3, and I'm back with this series. I know that this probably won't get a lot of views anyway, but I want to still at least try my best to get it out here. Given that, I feel like this is the part that I feel like many of you have been looking forward to after all. Anyway, let's go with that of a pretty necessary recap. In the last part, Will has basically reached his final year at Red Garden Academy, where he is still seen as, well, the weakest and that of the one with the most lack of potential in magic after all. However, due to that of, well, Professor Wartner and Headmistress Cauldron seeing Will's potential, not just as a sword, but also because of his Ouroboros powers. Even though Professor Edwards' pretty sizable majority of the school, or that of the student body, basically continue to look down on Will due to his lack of mana or magic after all. However, it doesn't stop him for looking up to his dream of being there, right beside that of Elfie, with him taking on a job for that of Professor Wartner to kill that of a Baskerville monster down in a dungeon. However, instead of finding a Baskerville, he finds an evil sentry, planning to kill that of his classmates and bully Scion. But Will doesn't care, as he defends that of Scion, showing off his powers of Ouroboros and that of his sword fighter class, making easy work of the evil sentry, while also showing off what he's capable of, not just towards Scion, but also towards that of his Professor Wartner and Edwards as well. And now he has enough credits to get him by for the week. So, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? Also, a bit of a heads up. If I feel like I'm basically moving a lot, it's mainly because the heat in my apartment has now basically gone out for a bit. So I'm waiting on my landlord to take care of that. So if it gets distracting in the background, apologies. Or if I feel like I'm out of breath. So with that distraction out of the way, let's get straight into this. The very next day, classes basically go the same like always. However, today is currently that of an off day. However, Professor Wartner is currently doing that of supplementary classes, basically extracurriculum classes for students who are basically struggling. Not to mention, it also acts as that of extra credits for that of students who want more points for themselves to graduate. And of course, Will is basically always taking these classes to make up for that of his subpar points in magic fundamental skills. As it basically goes over that of the fundamentals of spellcrafting and everything else, focusing on how to develop and even how to, well, disrupt that of certain types of spells. Even Professor Wartner basically telling him that he wants that of an essay on their desk by their next class tomorrow, which leaving everybody in the classroom completely and utterly feeling tired, exhausted, and that's a pure and utter fear, with even Will basically writing everything down, but with tears in his eyes through his glasses, basically mentally saying to himself, I want to die. Showing that his favorite professor that sees his potential, basically, well, has a sadistic streak just like that of his, well, friend slash colleague. A few hours later, the classes finally come to an end. However, at the same time, that's when Edwards meets with that of Headmistress Cauldron, with him demanding one crucial thing. As Edward's saying, Headmistress Cauldron, you must expel Will Surfort. With her drinking her tea, not even fazed by that of Edward basically coming into that of her office and demanding a student to be expelled, still with a nonchalant smile, with her eyes closed and everything, saying, oh, may I ask, why should I expel that of Will Surfort? With Edward basically a lot more calm, saying, normally I wouldn't bring this up if I didn't see it was necessary, but the boy lacks any form of talent whatsoever. Oh, that's quite presumptuous of you, Edward. As she soon brings out her wand, with soon a book, that of a very large book, comes to her desk, as she also removes that of her tea and tea plate as well. Before then, the book opens up and flickers through multiple pages before stopping on that of Will's progress reports for the past few years. I don't see anything wrong outside of not having the necessary credits to graduate just yet. He also has that of quite a bit of credits and high grades in that of certain classes like that of botany, magic fundamentals, and many other classes outside of the physical classes of using magic. Why is there such a problem? Many students have struggled like this before, with Edwards basically removing his hair out of his face, even though it barely helps, saying, if he wanted to be that of a botanist or that of an enchanter, I wouldn't mind, but he thinks that he can achieve being Magia Vander with that of a sword. And not only that, another thing, something that Wartner has kept a secret from me. Within remembering that of Will's sword fighter class, and that of his, well, blade sword, Truth Seeker, within him gritting his teeth, saying, the boy has lied about that of his true capabilities, has not shown it to that of the very faculty and students of this prestigious academy. If anything, he's basically making a mockery out of every hardworking student of this academy. With that of Cauldron closing the book with her wand once more, before bringing her tea to her hands once as well, saying, I understand. However, he hasn't kept it truly a secret. As you said, Wartner knows, and so is I. Within hearing this, Edward's eyes widening, shocked, saying, you as well? Why haven't you? Tell me, from what you saw or have seen, did you sense any form of magic from that of the weapon that he used? Within, Edward saying, no, I didn't sense any mana or any type of magic coming from the weapon, even though it looked like that of a magic sword, especially something that mage killers would basically have down in the dungeons. With her nodding her head saying, exactly, that's because it uses a different form of energy and magic, different from that of ours called ether. Within saying, you know of this. Before then, bringing out that of several books. Mainly these are the very notebooks on that of Will's job classes that Will has basically made notebooks for, as they go into detail about each and every class throughout the years here at Red Garden Academy, how they improve and grow stronger with every battle that Will takes part in within the dungeon. Within, Edwards reads at least some of them, not understanding some of the terms or even the word or even what the weapons look like or stuff like that, but he can at least understand what they do and how strong they are, with him basically even gritting his teeth even more. If this is the case, why wasn't this brought up to the rest of the faculty outside of just the two of you? Within, Cauldron, still sipping her tea, saying, would you accept the boy either way if I showed you what he's capable of with these job classes, with this power of Ouroboros, as he calls it? With then Edward saying, I wouldn't be as biased. I would be just as, or possibly even more strict with him with an unknown power. With Cauldron saying, and there it is. We wanted to be fair with that of Will, so it was just best to have this with that of two, with only having that of two faculty members being in charge of Will's growth with that of his classes, then having the entire school and faculty know. Make no mistake, Edwards, I believe he does have the potential to be a Magiavander with his powers of his. But to basically put aside your fears and to feel like he has no potential, or to basically, well, satisfy yourself, how about you were able to judge him? Test him in any way you see fit, and if he succeeds, he'll remain. But if he doesn't, I'll leave the decision for him to be the academy up to you. Within hearing this, Edward saying, you know, if he does fail, you know what exactly I plan to do with the boy, do you not? As he says this, and that's of a somewhat deadpan but malicious tone behind it. Within, Cauldron, still having her smile, saying, I am aware, but I will leave it to your discretion. After all, within, he couldn't help but smile, before then walking away, saying, as you wish, headmistress. With that, Edward soon takes his leave. But then, Cauldron puts aside her tea, saying, make no mistake, Will, I don't do this easily. But, after all, if you wish to become a Magiavander, at least see what it takes for somebody who was once could have became a Magiavander himself. A couple hours later, that's when the supplementary classes finally come to an end, with Will with multiple books in his hands and Kiki by his side, with Colette standing outside of the classroom but saying, Will, hey, are you okay? Will looking at his female friend saying, yeah, Professor Wartner really does love to pile on to us, but it's all in good faith after all. He's taking time out of his busy schedule and free time to basically gives us that of extra help. I can't waste it. With Colette basically smiling at that of her crush, saying, well, that's to be expected from you. Always a hard worker. As they continue walking down the hallways, they soon notice that of a large crowd. Well, not too large, but still pretty large. With seeing that of Scion and his lackeys, with one of his lackeys saying, I'm telling you, Scion defeated that of an evil sentry. He saved our lives. With many people basically going in awe at that of Scion, with Scion not saying anything. As you could see the look on his face alone, the look of pure and utter shock, annoyance, and basically embarrassment, just from his eyes alone. However, nobody else can notice it, as he drowns out the praise, with still remembering about Will and his sword fighter class, taking out the evil sentry pretty easily without even breaking a sweat, basically in his own ways humiliating him. With then seeing that of Will and Colette basically walking down the halls. With that, it basically triggered Scion as he stands up, walks past the crowd, with then going to that of Will, with Will noticing this alongside that of Colette, with Colette saying, Scion, what are you? With then grabbing Will by his collar, saying, is this some kind of joke to you? But Will somewhat shocked and surprised being called out like that, with wondering what the hell is he talking about, with Colette basically trying to tell Scion to let go of Will, with even Kiki hissing at that of Scion's aggressiveness, within saying, "What you did in the dungeon, it was unnatural. That was neither magic nor some crazy, stupid fighting style that the dwarves use. So what the hell even are you, laggard?" With Will basically looking down to the side, basically a little bit nervous and also, well, not wanting to be called out like that. Especially not wanting to show off just yet. Show off the power of Ouroboros, as he remembers the conversation with that of Mistress Cauldron, at least around that of his 4th year within Red Garden, around the year where he unlocked the power of Thaumaturgy and began writing notes on it. With then Headmistress saying, "Well done, Will. Not only you unlocked a new class, you've even gained more power as well. Keep this up and I know for sure that you'll figure things out even more while being here at the academy." With Will a little bit embarrassed and glad for the praise. Before then, he's saying, Headmistress?" Within, she nodding her head, saying, "Speak. You're free to do so." With Will a little bit nervous, but reassures himself, saying, "What about, is it possible? Is it possible for me to just show off at least a little bit of what I do with my Ouroboros abilities?" With this, she realized, "Oh, you wish to show this off to that of the students and faculty?" Within, Will nodding, as then she basically saying, "Well, you can. I won't stop you. However, you know your situation here, Will, do you not?" With then, soon Will basically shocked, as she soon puts the notebook that she got from Will over to that of the side into one of her cupboards before explaining, besides you not having barely any magic at all, and you're known for using that of a sword, many students come from that of noble families, and holding yourself back, or at least not showing that of your true potential and that of a proper way, would be seen as dishonor and disrespect to everybody, even you. Within, hearing that, Will could up and look down, with her saying, "However, there is a way for you to show off your abilities. Once you turn 16 in that of your final year here at the academy, you'll be eligible for that of the Grand Festival Games." Within, Will realizing, "Oh, I remember that. Wasn't it the festival for many of the students to show off what they're capable of after graduation? Even though if they won't be able to make it to the tower, they would still be scattered out either way." With then hearing that, Cauldron nods her head, saying, "Yes, Will. Every student who participates in the festival will be shown what they're capable of. Mostly, those with that of noble blood and birth will be the ones who are be kept the most eyes on, but those who show off the most talent and the most ability to everybody are the ones who have their eyes on them. Especially you, Will. One with no magic, but one with the unique power and ability that no one else has. I say, it's perfect. The entire festival was made for somebody like you." With Will's eyes in that of pure and utter shock and joy that somebody believes in him this much, which also means he has to hold out from the mockery, the laughs, the persecution, the ridicule, all these years until the grand festival. With that, Will takes a deep breath and saying, "Okay, I'll do it. I'll show what I'm capable of. I promise you. I won't let you down no matter what. I'll also continue growing stronger too." With that, Headmistress Cauldron gives off that of a true kind-hearted smile. Not the smile that she gives to everybody as a mask of, well, respect and authority, but a true smile of a grandparent excited for their grandchild. As she says, "I look forward to it, Will." With that, Will gets out of his memories before saying, "It's not, I can't say, sorry, Scion." With then, Scion basically gritting his teeth in that of pure and utter rage and annoyance, before then pushing Will away, saying, damn it, you're not worth it. Within Colette saying, Will, you okay? As saying, yeah, I'm fine, Colette. Thanks for worrying. With soon she's saying, seriously, what's his problem? Why is he always like this? But then Will thinking, probably has to deal with me. And honestly, I don't know why he hates me so much. With Colette basically worried for her crush, with even Kiki as well. As for Sion walking away in that of pure and utter frustration saying, damn that laggard. When I get the chance, I promise you, I'm going to prove I'm better than you. What you did in the dungeon is a goddamn fluke. I promise you that. As the redhead, his resolve stands proud even now, with rage feeling it. Currently now, with Will and Colette, currently at that of the library, wanting to get over studying, with multiple books in his hands, he's saying, all right, now I need to work on that of my history classes. With Colette thinking, oh, so your next classes have to do with that of history? What subject are you guys going over now? Within, Will remember looking over his notes saying, oh yeah, the Dwarf Rebellions. With Colette realizing, the Dwarf Rebellions? Seriously? I've never been really good with understanding the reasoning behind it. I always just thought it because they were angry or something. With then Will going over that, opening one of the books before saying, actually, it's so much complicated more than that. As he begins to read, he soon comments saying, you are aware that, well, the dwarfs, alongside the elves, all come from that of other worlds, right? With Colette saying, yeah, actually. Elves come from a realm which basically is way more magical than ours. And Will comments saying, and dwarves come from a realm where there barely any magic at all. Only select few have magic too. Dwarves can't use magic at all due to having a lack of a spiritual awareness or something like that. But I feel like it's way more than that. Dwarves are headstrong. They're strong-willed. They have the will to continue moving forward no matter how overwhelming or how dangerous the situation is. No matter what. To us, mages, using that of weapons like swords, spears, axes, and many other melee type of weapons are seen as barbaric, primitive, stuff like that. However, to a dwarf, being able to use a weapon is a true symbol of strength and will and courage to fight back against overwhelming odds, even if you believe that you have no chance. I can't help but respect a culture like that. Culture based off hard work and determination. With Colette, couldn't help but basically blush at that of Will, admiring that of a whole other race. With then Colette saying, you know, when you speak like that, it's almost sounding like you're a dwarf yourself, actually. With then Will basically blushing, saying, nothing like that. Like I said, I just admire them a lot. With then, soon, a familiar and somewhat irritating monotone voice saying, Will Surfort, with both students basically freaking out, seeing that of their, well, messy-haired, scrawny, black-wearing professor. Within, Colette saying, oh, Professor Edward, what are you doing? Saying, Colette Loire, I understand that you have business with studying with that of Surfort, but I have some business with him myself. Do you mind if I take him away for a bit? With Will basically feeling quite nervous about this, with even Colette also feeling pretty nervous too. With Colette saying, sure, Professor Edward, can I ask why? With then, he just says, it involves his points for that of upcoming classes. Nothing more, nothing less. Surfort, follow me. With him walking off, expecting Will to follow, with Will still somewhat confused, as he can up say, of course, Professor. But then, looking back at Colette, and Kiki saying, hey, Colette, could you take my books back to my locker? And with then saying, I know, I'll make sure to lock it back too. Just within having a look of pure and utter worry saying, just be careful. Within, Will smiles back before following after that of their aloof teacher, with Colette feeling somewhat worried herself about that of Will. As Will and Edwards walk through out of the grounds, they soon arrive into something that looks like a grand cathedral. However, it's actually one of the magic training halls for the school. Within, Edward saying, "You know, I have seen that you have had high points for that of magical theory and also exploration as well. However, magic fundamentals, on the other hand, you are still low on that of low points on." Within, Will couldn't help but laugh a little bit, saying, "Unfortunately, sir, it's one of the subjects that I'm not the best at." Within, he couldn't help but basically scoff, saying, "Huh, don't remind me. However, normally supplementary classes are beneath me. However, I feel like this is necessary for you, Sir Fort." Within, Will could up and say, "Huh? Wait, are you saying this is a supplementary class for you and you alone? I will have one task for you to do, and if you do so, I will give you 20 points, practical skills and fundamentals." Within, hearing that, Will couldn't help but have that of a look up here in utter joy and excitement, saying, "Professor Edwards, are you saying you're willing to?" Saying, "But you only have one task to do for me." Within, basically with a flourish of his black cape, looking back at his student, saying, "You only need to land one hit on me." Within, Will blinking multiple times, saying, "One hit, you say?" Will realizing, "Wait, are you saying that I have to?" "Oh, if you think this is a fight, you are sorely mistaken, boy. This is a reality check. This is to show you your place." As he brings out his wand, within, multiple black spell circles begin to appear over that of Edwards. However, the spell circles basically circle around each other, basically layering each other, before saying, "Dex." Within, multiple dark spears begin to send flying at that of Will, with Will reacting on pure and utter instinct, going into one of his job classes, as the darkened spears land where Will was at. However, they did not hit him. Instead, that of a blue-like barrier basically is consuming around Will, as in his hands he has that of a massive energy-like greatsword, and wearing that of a blue puffy coat, as he's now in that of his Royal Guard class. With Will realizing he really is serious, he layered multiple spell circles of one single spell, making them stronger and faster. Something like that, would you need so much control and focus to do such a thing? With then Edward saying, "So that's your ability, that so-called power of Ouroboros that the headmistress brought up." Within, Will realizing, "Wait, he knows?" Within saying, "I found out last night during your little excursion down the dungeon from Wertner of all things." With then gritting onto his wand so tightly, saying, "To think that that fool would keep such a thing from me. I can understand the headmistress doing such a thing to that idealistic bastard." With then, more and more purple spell circles begin to overlay one another, with Will realizing, saying, "Such disrespect!" Sending more and more of the Dax spell, with Will guarding from each and every one of the strikes, as he could even feel that his ether shield is basically starting to, wear down now. But he still holds his ground, weathering the onslaught of dark spells. With then, Edward soon slacked off a bit, no longer sending the barrage anymore. With then, soon, Will, no longer in that, basically covered in that of smoke, before then bursting out of the clouds into that of his sword fighter class, wearing red jacket and truth seeker in hand, with Edward seeing Will coming straight at him, as he knows that he's fast. However, for that of the dark mage professor, he just says one word, Darja. With that, a purple barrier illuminates over that of Edward's. However, it isn't just one barrier, it's multiple barriers, with the blade basically making contact with those barriers as it cracks one layer. However, the second layer is stronger, leaving Will in shock before then dodging out of the way of other spell circles coming down onto him, with that of the dexterous spell flying towards him as he dodges out of the way, moving quickly. However, he's not too fast before one almost clips him to the side, exploding before sending him flying backwards. However, Will isn't done yet as he switches to that of his Guardian Commander with the sword and shield combo, creating that of another energy shield, guarding from the attacks once more, even deflecting a few of the dark spears as well with his sword, before then blitzing towards that of Edwards once again, and preparing to land that of a powerful thrust from his sword to that of the barrier, cracking it as he cracks it but not destroying it. Within Edward saying, "You little brat," with then sending more and more of dexterous darts towards that of Will, with Will unable to basically dodge the attacks due to how many they are. He soon sent flying once more, scuffing up that of his, Ouroboros uniform and everything, with even fading out of his Guardian Commander, with then skidding backwards before landing back on his feet, huffing and puffing from all of the attacks dealt on him, as he can't help but feeling overwhelmed, as he's never felt like this before, given all the monsters that he's defeated in the dungeon. But this is on a whole other level. Within saying, "Do you see now, boy? Even with that of unique power and ability you have, you are nothing compared to that of true magic and powers. Look at you, basically wandering around, moving like that of a dwarf. It's sickening, and you wish to be a Magia Vander? Don't make me laugh." With Will getting frustrated and annoyed, before then trying to catch his breath once more, taking a deep breath from his nose and breathing out from his mouth, saying, "It's more than just me wanting to be a Magia Vander, Professor." With then Edwards wondering, "Oh, then enlighten me. I need to reach the top of the tower. After all, she's waiting for me." Within realizing, waiting? Who would be? Within remembering the reason on why Will was even here, the reason why he's even wanting to be a Magia Vander. Within saying, "You cannot be serious. Are you telling me this? This is the reason why you want to scale the tower? All because of insignificant love? A newsflash for you, Sir Fort." Within, more and more of black magic circles begin to basically overlay one another once again. Not to mention one of them being quite larger than the room itself, saying, "That girl is beyond talent that you do not even have. A prodigy even beyond that of her even peers to begin with. You have no right to even stand by her side at all." Within hearing that, Will basically snaps. And at that very moment, he unlocks a new class. Within, soon, his appearance changes. Light begins to glow around his body. Before then, he has that of a white long coat uniform, somewhat militaristic, almost close to that of what you would see a noble would wear. However, what stands out in his hands is he looks like he has that of, something close to that of what he has for that of his, well, full metal Jaguar class, but different, as they are not guns, but are actually something similar to that of Tonfa's. But that of an green-like energy-like blades begin to coat around them, constantly spinning as the Tonfa-like guns begin almost look like that of crosses. With then, as Will is in that of a new job class known as Strategos, as the new knowledge basically floods into that of Will's brain, how to use this class, what it's capable of, and properly how to use it. Saying, I see. Now I understand. However, at the same time, Colette actually arrived into that of the training hall as well, given that Kiki was worried for that of Will, given what has happened. She did bring that of his sword, however, realizing that he probably won't even need it. She couldn't help but have that of a look of pure and utter awe on her face, seeing Will in his new job class attire. With then Edward saying, just because you've learned something new doesn't mean anything, Sir Fort! With then sending more and more of the dark spears towards Will. As for Will, he nonchalantly raises up both his arms, before then multiple discs from the weapon known as a disc launcher, as the razor blade 8 disc basically fires onto that of the Daxiran spell, destroying the spears, before then launching more and more of them everywhere, destroying the spears as they also act as that of homing missiles. At the same time, Will could feel it. He could feel that of his power and strength increasing while being in that of this class. Not to mention, he sends more discs at that of Edwards as well. As soon they begin to basically circle around that of his barrier. Instead of cracking it, it's almost looking like that of a barrier made from that of buzzsaws. Within, Edward's wondering, what is the meaning of this? What is he trying to do? Within, however, without him realizing it, the buzzsaws are actually weakening the barrier bit by bit, slowly, basically cracking it with that of the saw blades alone. Within, Will continues to lay down fire after fire, before then switching to that of his Flash Spencer class, wearing that of the white trench coat jacket and armor plating around it, before then crossing both swords together, within spinning that of the long sword and twirling the short sword, with that of a look of determination, before then waiting for the perfect opportunity. That's when the barrier finally cracks, with then saying, now, as he blitzes towards that of Edwards, but even faster than before. Within Edwards noticing this, as soon he sends that of the powerful dark spear down onto Will, as it also moves quite fast for himself. However, Will was faster, moving so quickly to the point that the dark spell didn't even graze him. Hell, it didn't even touch him before then. As for Will, on the other hand, looking as he prepares for that of a slash, about to look like he was about to cut that of Edwards in half, but instead, he doesn't. Then he was already behind that of the practical magic teacher, with that of pure and utter shock, before he feels something cold and wet down his cheek. Then feeling what's on his cheek, he notices that it's blood, his blood. Then he looks back, seeing that of Will, with blade drawn and everything, but not with that of a huge amount of blood, but just one drip, before it soon fades from the energy emitting from the sword, from the long sword, before soon spinning and twirling it, saying, "So, did I pass, Professor?" As he smiles with that of a cocky grin, with Edwards, on the other hand, masking it with that of a look of nonchalantness, saying, "So far, you have passed. You land one hit on me. Simple as that." With that saying, and for that, I give you that of 20 points in your practical magic skills class. With then hearing this, Colette actually couldn't help but basically cheering out of excitement, with alongside that of Kiki as well, as she tosses the carbuncle into the air over and over again. Before then, the two head to that of Will, with Sood. Will, no longer in Flash Fencer, taking a deep breath before slumping on the ground, saying, "I've never switched between classes that much before. God, it puts so much strain on me." Within, Edward saying, "Now you are aware of your limits, Sir Fort." Within, seeing the teacher basically walking off, saying, "Now you are aware of what you're capable of and what your limits are. For that, no need to feel cocky and arrogant any longer." Within, Will completely confused by this, saying, "Professor, were you?" Within, saying, "From now on, if you need to study and check out and what you need to improve on with your classes, come to me. From now on, the supplementary classes on what you need for your practical magical skill classes. With that, I'll be grading you on what you need to improve and how would you need to develop yourself on certain type of spells." Within hearing this, Will shocked, saying, "Professor Edwards, you, from now on, no longer keeping it a secret when you need to. The faculty of this school, even if some of us may not say it, are here to help you. Remember that, Sir Fort." Within, walking out of the training hall, busting through the doors before heading outside, with Will saying, "He may be an asshole, but I think he's a good guy when he doesn't want to show it." Within, Will laying back on the ground, as Colette saying, "Will, are you okay?" With Kiki also worried for her familiar master, saying, "Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for worrying about me. Still, can't believe I actually passed." With that, Colette saying, "Still, I can't believe you were actually able to beat Professor Edwards." Saying, "Beat" is saying it lightly. He was holding back, I can tell. With saying, "Wait, really?" "Yeah, he was holding back a lot. He didn't even use that of his most powerful spells on me. Just the basics of dark magic spells. And if his basic spells that anybody can learn can deal that much damage and that much control, especially overlaying spell circle over spell circle to make them faster and stronger, it proves I have a long way to go if I want to become Magia Vander." With that, Will now has that of a full-on determination and resolve to reach Magia Vander, to be beside Elfie no matter what. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So, what do you guys think? Think I did a pretty okay job with this, actually. I know a large majority of you were hoping that, well, Will would basically beat the ever-living dog shit out of Edwards. Trust me, I was debating on basically writing that while making this what if. But trust me, this is better. The guy may be an asshole and basically a discount Aizawa, fused with the bullshit that is Severus Snape from Harry Potter. But let's be honest, the guy's not as bad as those two. At least Aizawa's better. And a far better improvement than Severus Snape after all. So yeah, and right, if you guys wondering why did I choose that of the Strategos class instead of something else, well, it was basically what was going to be coming after that, a Full Metal Jaguar after all. Because again, I'm basically going into, well, proper order on how you would get these classes. in game, to be honest. So yeah, that's why Strategos was the newest class that Will would gain. I know it seems like it's bad, but honestly, Strategos is one of my personal favorite healer classes. So yeah. Anyways, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to get my videos uploaded to the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, my gaming channel, my side channel, my other channel, my Patreon, and my Cash App. All linked in the description below. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out.
Hi everyone,
This
is White
take
Fox.
care. You know what to do,
If you like
Shiro.
Leon's video, click the video on the left to see the most recent one. And if you want to see more of this, click the subscribe button and notification bell and check out his playlists. If you still haven't subscribed, do so in the center. With that said, I hope to see you again on my love's channel. Bye!